Alright, let's get started. We're going to start a weekly review. You can get an idea of what I've done this week, how my progress is going. And before I get started, for those of you that aren't familiar, I'm on a, entrepreneurial journey. Dropped out of my PhD. This is the last month, finishing up some TA grading, I think like next week, start of next week, and then that'll be completely done, and I'll be focusing 24/7 on not starting up, but developing passive income through, you can call it like indie hacking or solo entrepreneur or developer or SaaS app developer, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, so that's sort of my journey, and I have enough saved up that I should be able to not have to work for the next at least 12 months. And since I only have to pay loans, currently living with my mom just for transparency, and no other expenses except food. I don't have a car, don't need a car, so that's I just living at my computer, exercising, eating healthy, developing healthy habits, and trying to get my money right. So anyways, let's get started. So if you're not familiar, I have essentially 5 projects going on in my life. 2 of those are sub projects of 2 of the bigger projects, and those projects focus on 3 areas of wellness. You can look at my website, franciscomonroy.xyz, for more detail, but essentially those projects are: first, healing. I have lots of stresses, chronic stresses, traumas that I need to heal, and I know that they're there because I have high blood pressure. Blood pressure about a year ago used to be in like the 160s, over 110, and I don't have like organ failure, I don't have like any other evident issues, so it must be stress. And it makes sense because I've been stressing myself out over academia for the past 7 years. I was in Running Start, so did college and high school for 2 years, went to get my BS in electrical engineering, so I was stressed out for another 4 years, and then I was stressed out 3 more years for my master's degree in electrical engineering, and then for 1 year as a PhD student. So that's, what was that? 9 years at least. So there's a lot of healing, stress, relaxation that I need to do, and that's one project. Just running over all the projects so you can get a feel for what I'll be talking about in this video, and you can just skip to whatever. So first is healing. Second is, let's start March to Startup. So this is, I guess, the project that will take me from where I am now, which is broke, all the way to these broader goals and ambitions that I have. Ultimately, I want to have like a deep technology company that has many sub companies that are focusing on many different areas. Imagine like an Amazon, except not necessarily just in e-commerce and web, but also actual technologies, maybe climate change solutions, space exploration, that kind of thing. And it's really big goals, so I need to get started somehow. This is the project that I'm doing, how I'm going to approach that. And it all first starts with, how do I develop a simple app or a simple website? And take an idea, basically, develop app or website, and develop an app or website mock-up, which is validated, researched, and then let me restart that. Innovator's blueprint is essentially, how do I take an idea and make a mock-up that has been validated, that has been customer refined through customer discovery, customer interviews. So it's that first process before you're actually building anything, where it's just the idea and the vision of it. How do you make sure that's a good opportunity and all that good stuff? After this, because this in itself is going to take me like 2 months, 3 months, maybe a little more. After that, then it's actually, I should cover this. Then it's how do I, or actually going through the process of developing it. And so my first few areas will be like app development, web development, marketing and sales. And that's going to be my path for the next 2 to 3 years. And my goal is to build up enough income that that I don't have to worry about where I'm going to get money and having to get a full-time job. And then at that point, I can focus on more deep technology startups that actually can have more impact. And I don't have to worry so much about the medium, which, to be clear, apps, websites are sort of like the lowest barrier to entry, easiest to scale that you can have. So that's all occupational wellness. Healing was emotional wellness. And then the other 2 projects I have are in physical wellness, so taking care of my health. Because I've been in academia for so long, I've been neglecting my health, been neglecting sleep, nutrition, exercise, and mental health, as you know. And March to Optimal Health is essentially what's the baseline? What's the minimum that I need to be a healthy human being? And that's in those 4 pillars that I'm focusing on. I'm not focusing on like, how do I do this very niche thing? How do I improve my metabolism by doing cold saunas or cold, what do you call it? Ice dips or whatever, and then saunas and all of that stuff. No, it's just simple. How do I eat better and affordable, and it doesn't take too long to cook? How do I exercise in a way that like I don't need all this equipment, which is just running at the moment, as you can see, half marathon training? And how do I sleep better? How do I minimize stress, which is actually part of healing? So yeah, that's March to Optimal Health. And then half marathon training, because fitness for me is easiest in goals and having ambitions, besides just like run 3 hours a week. How about I achieve a goal that I haven't done before? And so for me, that's half marathon training, trying to run 13.21 miles in a 7-minute 30-second pace, which is pretty good. Not the best, but it's sort of in the top 25% of actual runners, so that's pretty good. And the last one, YouTube. I am essentially recording my goal from being broke, from having, I guess, bad health. I'm not like overweight, but I do have bad health with regards to high blood pressure, with regards to the habits that I do on a day-to-day. They're not healthy. And I know that I'm going to make it. At the very minimum, I'm going to be healthy, and I'm going to end up a millionaire. Even if I have to go back to a corporate job, I know I'm going to retire a millionaire, like easily. And so I guess I'm just trying to record myself on this journey and provide information for the next generation, for the next and when I say the next generation, I'd envision like my own kids, my grandkids. I don't know if the information will be outdated by then, but yeah. And because I'm doing that, it needs to be informative, and currently I'm just sort of trying to do the minimum, recording myself and just going off. Don't really even have a script, just recording sort of videos that make sense in some way. But I know there's a lot of improvement to be made if I actually want to make this useful. So these are the projects, and let's see, 9:30. All right, so I'm gonna try to start adding timestamps actually. So that was the explanations. So let's go through it. Oh, and just for those that are curious, I try to every week review how my week went, and I also have like weekly tasks. So for example, at the end of every week, I need to clean up just any loose ends that I might have. So go through my phone. Do I have any Safari tabs that are open? Do I have any photos that point me towards actions I should take? So my goal on the weekend is just, one of my goals is, or one of my action tasks is, clean up all these loose ends so I can start the next week on a good clean page. For example, my inboxes, email inboxes, I always try to get to 0. There's some emails that I'll keep around, so I maybe have like 10 to 15 at the most, but I always try to end up at 0. Make sure to clean my room, clean up the house, and in what I have to clean up, get ready for next week by meal prepping. Hygiene, so that's like washing my clothes, cleaning my room, making sure grooming my dog, and since I do have pet allergies, and yeah, and then just reviewing all the projects. So starting with the first project, healing. This one, as I mentioned, I'm looking at trying to reduce my high blood pressure. My main 2 tasks here were to read 2 self-therapy books that were prescribed by my doctor, and what I just noted down was that I didn't really read this week. I think I'm at page 40, and I don't remember if I read 2 days this week or last week, but there are around 250 pages in this book, and I still need to go through the exercises in this book. I don't just want to read it and then, I don't know, not take anything away from it. That would have been a waste of time. So I need to do the exercises, and I'm just sort of calculating if I read 3 to 4 days a week, that's like 70 pages a week, I should be able to finish in a month. And then my goal after that is read the other book the next month. So far I'm not off track, but I feel like I could be slipping off track. So that's just sort of like a make sure I keep on this, and I'll add it to, I don't want to open this takeaway since I do have some more private things there, but I for each project I add like takeaways on, okay, I noticed this is wrong, I could slightly improve in this manner, let's try this next week. And so for my takeaways, this is what I'm going to be incorporating into my week to week. So I personally follow like a daily note where I add like where I have like a soft calendar, a soft list of tasks that I have to do on a given day. So takeaways are incorporated into my week. And let's see, implement healthy habits. So this is more referencing March to Optimal Health. And yeah, and then I also did a journal therapy, which I said I would do every week. And so I have that here and the takeaways that I can do to improve for next week. So now looking at Innovator's Blueprint. For Innovator's Blueprint in this project, again, you can check all of these projects on my website. I also have it in my personal notes, but for this project, I first said that I would focus on doing this Figma Essentials Udemy course to really learn how to use Figma software. And if you're not familiar, Figma, I believe, is starting to become like industry standard for user experience, user interface designers. And those are people essentially that are designing how an app or website might look or feel. And let's see. So I finished this course this week, and one thing I noticed about the course was that it wasn't necessarily focused on UX UI design, although it did have like follow along homeworks. I think it was good for beginners to just dip their toes into the water for UX UI design, but it was more so getting you familiar with Figma. And so in that sense, it achieved its purpose, but it didn't really have like a good enough, how do you say, you don't end up with a project you can add to your portfolio, or at least I didn't feel like the project it would be one that I would want to add to my portfolio. Yeah, and here I'm just noting that because it is a case, like, I ideally want to have case studies or projects that are more realistic, because again, the prompt he gave us, I wasn't really interested in, didn't really do anything for me. So if I can focus on more topics that are of interest for me and relevant to me, because I'm making this portfolio not to apply to a job, but it's always good to have like a plan B and just check off the boxes and really make sure that I get that experience, and then start to develop my website, my apps, websites. And since it only takes like an extra month, why not? And if I can improve my my skills, why not? Let's see. So yeah, take up studies, try to gain experience for apps that I would want to build. So that gets me closer to actually making apps. And then I also note that I think it might be interesting to cover my notes, cover what we learned in the class on a YouTube video. This way I can sort of solidify what I've learned, as well as for those that are, I guess, wanting to follow a similar path, or even just interested in UI UX design. They can see what they might learn from this class and decide whether or not to take it. So that was this class. My next step after this class was trying to get a feel for the roadmap that I should undergo, because I want to be a little bit thorough in learning UX UI design. I am really like a learning geek, where I feel like I need to be exhaustive. I have an engineering background, so I feel like I need to be exhaustive when I do this, and why not do it since I'm already learning? I know other people's approaches might be start like an app and then learn on the go. And for me, that makes sense, especially because I know it takes a long time. But at the same time, once you get into it, it's kind of hard to, I guess, to go back and learn more of these topics in detail. And my goal isn't to be like a UX, or isn't to be an app or web developer for the rest of my life. It's just for these next 2 years as a stepping stone for bigger and better things. Well, let's see. I'm not bigger, not necessarily better, just better for me. Let's just say that. And yeah. So to get a feel for the roadmap, I need to do an exhaustive search, see what resources people typically use, look up literally just roadmaps, and then also look up websites, libraries people use for icons, images, fonts, research other skills that I might not be familiar with, and then sort of put it into a roadmap. So look up roadmaps and then try to consolidate all of these resources into like my own roadmap. And this, yeah, just I feel like I covered most of the resources, and then I just need to look up a little bit more. But after that, I feel like I have looked up as much as I could have. Now, I do have, I think, two more Udemy classes that I want to take. Whether they're good or not, I'm not sure. But my goal is to start them only once I've completely finished this course. And when I say finished, I mean processed it, recapped it, and shared my learnings. Same thing with the Google UX certification on Coursera. Also started purchasing a lot of UI UX books, and it's gonna take me a while to cover these. About 3 books a month for the next year, so there's about 30 books. So I need to first just get into the habit of spending time each day, 4 to 5 hours at least, studying all of this information. Once I get into the habit, I know for sure I can go through these books 2 to 3 hours a day, or 1 to 3 hours a day. Yeah, that would be more realistic. And then these are my takeaways. For example, just recapping the points in these. So for example, I need to look up I need to start thinking about apps that I want to build and see what case studies I want to take up for my first few apps. I need to wrap up the course, so solidify my learnings and then record myself. I need to just finish up my research for what libraries, websites, resources, portfolios I can reference and put it all into a roadmap. And there's some other courses and books that I want to finish up. So that's where I am with Innovator's Blueprint. And essentially, from an overview, what we're seeing is I'll probably finish this, I think it was 1 or 2 weeks. My goal is to finish this class within 1 or 2 weeks. If possible, this one as well. So by I think it was like the 20th or the 28th. This I would start once I finish these, and it would take me about 1 to 2 months. Books, I would start after this one, which ideally I would like to finish in the next 2 days. So we're making progress. So I'll likely finish the UX UI design phases of Innovator's Blueprint within the next 2 to 3 months. And in terms of, or now with respect to the other 2 phases, those I'll have to see if I can do in parallel to this course and the books, or if I'm going to have to wait until I finish this course to start market research, customer discovery, because there are a lot of resources that I need to go through for those 2 phases. So that's a mouthful. And yeah, let's see. Yeah, we'll have to see. I don't want to try to predict anything now. All of this meaning that Innovator's Blueprint might take me 4 to 5 months at a minimum. So it'd be like June, July, August, September, October. It's quite a long time. But I would hit the ground running when I start to make apps. Actually, let's transition here because I do start talking about that here. So let's go into March to Startup. March to Startup, prototyping design, that is basically covered by Innovator's Blueprint, so I don't have anything there. Now for Git here, I sort of have made it blocking because I covered like 94 pages of the Pro Git book, but I need to practice what I learned. I need to finish reading 10 pages, and then I want to record myself just going through some of my practices and covering some of the topics in the book, because I think that might be helpful. I need to take the practice exam, and then there's other just easy tasks, such as take the LinkedIn certification. So that is just things that I need to get out the way. So if you notice, 2 places where I'm sort of just blocking myself in progress is Git and Figma Essentials. So ideally I'd like to get this done Monday, Tuesday. Now for iOS app development here, I don't really know sort of when I'll finish 80% of Innovator's Blueprint, but once I feel like I'm close to the finish line for Innovator's Blueprint, start iOS app development. Same thing with marketing and sales. Same thing with researching Jeff Bezos. This one, learning resources, I have a bunch of resources. I made a video about starting up in entrepreneurship and business, all that good stuff. And I haven't had time to go through any of those resources. So for now, I'm just thinking, like, since I have HBO at the moment, I'll just go through some of the TV shows on my free time, and in that way I can start taking on some of the things there. Now, the other thing in March to Startup is I have a company. Started it way too early, but at least now I want to get it sort of set up for when I start to develop iOS apps, and also just because I'm purchasing like courses, other things that are relevant to making apps. And so I figured, why not just use my bank, and those costs will be associated with the business. And so I've activated my company card, ordered my company card, have a business bank account. I think I talked about that, and now I just need to deposit 500 to start using that. So here is just summarizing again all the different things. Get a bunch of tasks that I need to do that I've just been procrastinating. Learning resources, these are the 3 specific shows that I can start on in HBO because I plan to cancel it, and get my business bank account set up or started. Now, moving on to the next one, half marathon training. How are things going here? So here, let me actually get my phone. Alright, so I accidentally canceled my previous recording, but so looking at this week, I ran Monday 6.5, Tuesday 6.1, took a break on Wednesday, ran 6.7 on Thursday, ended up actually hitting a PR there, and then Saturday, which was yesterday, ran 10 miles. So overall, pretty good. My original goal was to run Monday, Tuesdays, Wednesday, Thursday, and then Saturdays, 6 miles a day. And so I kind of deviated from that, and that was one issue that I want to try to address next week. Just be more consistent, and then also pick up my mileage by 1 mile per day. I saw that marathon runners typically run about 40 to 60 miles a week, which is about 8 to 10 miles a day. And although I'm not training for a full marathon at this point, I want the transition from half marathon to full marathon to be a little bit more seamless. So I am committing to a little bit more mileage. And let's see. Currently running, when I ran the 10 miles, it was around an 8:42 pace, especially because the last 2 miles were the last 3 miles I think were my slowest. But before that, I was running around 8:20, which is good to start with. But I do need to get my pace down to 7:30. All of that to say that I think 12 weeks might be enough. Here in Yakima, where I'm living, it does snow and rain a lot closer to fall. So I do have like a limited time window where I can train for this half marathon. The other thing that I am noting is that I just need to start waking up earlier. I currently am waking up at around 7:30, spend about an hour on my phone, and then finally decide to get up and start running around 8:45, 9. So there's a lot of time that I'm wasting in the morning. So here's just making the note that I need to wake up earlier. I need to get out of bed earlier. I also need to be more consistent with my physical therapy. So that's my takeaways for next week. Now, march to optimal health. Here, again, there's 4 areas: mental health, sleep, nutrition, and fitness. For mental health, I do need to add meditation, preferably like 10 minutes in the morning, 10 minutes at night. This is neither here nor there, because I'm focusing on trying to get the habits developed for the other areas. Trying to develop too many habits at once has been a little bit difficult. For sleep, I do need blackout shades. I wake up at 7:30, and my goal is to wake up at 5:30, but the sun doesn't go down until I think like 10. So I just need the room to be a little bit darker, and also, yeah, just set my own rhythm basically. So blacking out my shades to be able to set my own rhythm and not necessarily be reliant on the sun. Nutrition, I just need to be more consistent. I covered in my journal therapy. But yeah, I need to be more consistent. One thing I hate about it is that you're just eating the same food every single day. So part of it is just discipline. Um, and and it's so much food. I'll have to make a video on like the specific issues with going for an optimal diet, or not even diet but meal plan, um, because I'm eating. If I need a show one of like the meal prep containers, because each of those meal prep containers can hold like probably like 5 cups, and each of them is full. So for breakfast, I must be eating like 4 cups of food. Lunch maybe 4 to 5, and then dinner eating like 2 cups. So it's just a lot of food, a lot of lots of fiber too, which has its own issues. So I'll probably make a video there. But all in all, just need to be more disciplined in following the meals. Currently, I'm at like probably 50%. I'm able to eat all the oatmeals for breakfast. Lunch is where I start to wane, and then dinner I've just been slipping there. So next week my goal there is, I yeah, just to like track my meals and actually see which days I'm following it and which days I'm not. And if I'm not following it, at least track my meals to see how my nutrition's going. Now for fitness, yeah, not meal, half marathon training. I do want to add calisthenics at some point, but again, I need to just get in the groove here first before I start adding in more things. Blackout shades, yep. And then actually meditation. Yeah, so those are all things I want to add once I sort of get over the hump of of implementing all these other healthy habits. So now the last one, YouTube. This isn't an official project yet, but I know there's so many things I can improve, and I just don't have time for that. I don't have time to edit. Don't really have time for research. And right now I kind of feel like if I had to choose between being successful in this journey and not having to go back to get a job, I need to focus completely on Innovator's blueprint and kind of have like a sucky YouTube channel. Or I can be an okay entrepreneur, have a large following, but yeah, that's sort of the decision I feel like I have to make at the moment, and it's not black or white, especially in the long term. Yeah. So I think what I'm going to do here is probably over the next like few weeks, start to review other YouTube channels, maybe look at how they're formatting their videos and editing their videos, and try to find like a style where it's not over edited. They don't need to script it. So it really cutting down on time it takes to record and make YouTube videos. And so because of this new style, I think by the end of July I could easily hit 1,000 subscribers, and closer to 2 years have continued to improve. So I get to 80K, and then for sure over 3 to 4 years, when I have more time, maybe have more resources to get editors and other people to help me on the channel, let's aim for 1 million in 3 to 4 years. And so let's see. Oh, actually that's an issue, because if I say look more into, okay. Yeah, so once I sort of get over the hump of Innovator's blueprint, then do a lot more research. Gotcha. But for now, we're going to rely on just simple math, I guess you could say. Yeah, so that's an overview of my week. Yeah, that's it. Let me know if you have any questions. And see you all either a week from now, or if there's anything else I need to record.